case you're not sure quite where we are, I'm in an empty grain bin. And today we're going to spend a little bit of time talking about grain bin safety, and specifically as it relates to unloading. So clearly this bin is completely unloaded, it's empty. So just kind of get a glimpse of what it looks like in the bin. It's a bit echoey, but thought you might enjoy one little tidbit related to the bins that you may see on people's farms. So as we mentioned before, grain bins store our crops that are not taken to the elevator. So you could see our beans in here, our corn in here, maybe even wheat, and it allows us to store it to take to the elevator at a later time, or we're able to use, corn, for instance, to help feed the livestock on the farm as well. So bins are very helpful, but when it comes to unloading, they can be a serious concern if safety is not a top priority. So according to OSHA, when grain starts moving within a grain bin, people have 2 seconds to react. If someone gets engulfed, they have 4 to 5 seconds. And full entrapment can happen within 22 seconds. So we're talking short amounts of time. So if we are not conscious about what's going on and using our safety measures, things could turn bad really, really fast. So we don't want that to happen. So we'll just go through some things to keep in mind, or if you see a bin on a farm and you see them unloading from it, these are the things that have to come into play so that everyone remains safe. So first of all, when you're dealing with grain bins, important not to do things on your own. You should always have someone with you, if not 3 people, just to make sure that if you do need help, someone's not crying for help with no one else to hear it. So make sure you're not doing this alone. We're all familiar with masks, of course, but masks are important when it comes to unloading grain because those fine particles can certainly go into your lungs, cause coughing, all those sort of things. So we wear a mask just to make sure that we're not breathing all of that in. Just like we talked about with PTO safety, if you missed that video, we talked about it a few weeks prior. This is also a situation where children probably shouldn't be around. There's other type of tasks they can help with. This would be a time for them to do that. Very important in a bin to stay towards the outside walls, and when it comes to unloading, best if you're not in the bin at all when there's a large volume still in the bin. Now at the end, when it requires the auger on the floor to get the final amounts of crop out through the auger, different story, but today we're just focusing on a full bin. So here's why. When the grain is in the bin, it sits here, but when we have to move it, we have to have a way to get it out. And it does that through an auger in the center. So let's look at that. So you've got a flooring, you've got auger in the center that comes through there and brings it out of the bin so we can load the trailer. When that happens, you get an action like this, just like a funnel. So as the grain is being pulled down by that auger that's moving like this constantly, okay? So it creates similar to a funnel, it just keeps pulling down through the center. So if we are anywhere but at the outside where we can kind of have a grasp of what's going on, we're going to get pulled into that center just like the grain. So very important not to be in the center. Think about if you can relate this to maybe a pile of sand or a pile of little pebbles. It's kind of difficult to get to the top, right? Your feet stick skin. You can't get much traction with your hands. Similar things are happening with the grain, and when you have grain that's moving, it magnifies that even more. So if you're pulled in, there's really nothing to grab for unless there are, safety ropes and ladders, and sometimes those may even be out of reach. Once the grain gets up to your knees, now not only are you dealing with the force of it pulling you down, now you also have the pressure of it, and trying to get out is even harder. So all in all, there's 3 things to keep in mind. You should never be alone. You should never be in the middle, and you should never be in the bin when a full bin when it's being unloaded. Same thing can be said if sometimes there may be a side that's not funneling down like it should. If that breaks and you're in here and that breaks away, another risk of engulfment there as well. So we just have to be super, super careful. Think twice before we do something related to bins and unloading, just to make sure that everyone gets through that task and can move on to the next one. So with that, I hope you've enjoyed our Farm Fact Friday live from a grain bin. Have a great rest of your Friday, a wonderful weekend. We'll check you back next week for another Farm Fact Friday.